Welcome to Celebration Generosity. I'm Dave Ferguson.
And I'm John Ferguson, and we're the founding pastors here at Community. You know, we're so glad to be with you via video on this very special day. I absolutely love Celebration Generosity. For us at Community, you know, the best way to describe Celebration Generosity is like a once-a-year holiday. You know how on Thanksgiving you make the best meal possible and celebrate together with family and friends? Or at Christmas, you hope to buy the people you love the very best gift you can find and celebrate together. Well, that's what Celebration Generosity is all about. It's a time of year when we bring our very best and most generous gift to God. Today, you're going to hear about 4 amazing teams that are transforming the world. And we're going to challenge you to be a part of that transformation through your generosity.
It was right about this time 8 years ago that many individuals and businesses started feeling the first signs of a massive recession. And so did we at Community. We were 6 months into the year, and our giving was slightly up, but not nearly meeting our projections. Well, naturally, we started asking ourselves questions like, should we back off the vision? Should we slow things down, kind of throttle back? As a staff, we had a day of prayer and fasting, and we sought God's wisdom concerning our financial challenges. And when we regrouped together, I asked the staff, so what do you think God's telling us? At first, there was a lot of silence. And finally, one guy spoke up and he said, I know we're in a crisis, and I know this won't make sense in our current economic climate, but I don't think God's calling us to shrink the vision. I think God's actually calling us to expand the vision. And I'll tell you, it was definitely not what I expected. Well, as we began to pray about that, we felt like God was asking us not to throttle back at all, but instead to take one weekend's offering and give it all away. So in the middle of this crisis, we did something others thought was kind of crazy, but we thought was exactly what God wanted us to do. Well, the result? Our largest offering ever. In the middle of a financial crisis, we gave away more than $250,000. Well, now, 7 Celebration Generosities later, we've given away more than $3.5 million. And today, we're reaching more people at more locations, accomplishing more for the Jesus mission than ever before. See, that's what happens when you put God first and you give God your very best. And that's what Celebration Generosity is all about. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to go ahead and take this envelope. I would like to have all of you just go ahead and fill this out, the section that says name, email, phone, and campus. Now, a little later on, your campus pastor will explain how we'll be using this envelope at the end of the service. We're in a series called Transform, which is teaching us that the further we move away from God, the more we conform. But the closer we get to God, the more our lives will transform. Well, as we look back on these years of Celebration Generosity, it's clear that not only is God transforming us, but He's using us to transform the world through our generosity toward the 4 teams.
I was very far from God for a good part of my life, and I found my way back to God at a New Thing church. And so I know that new churches help new people find their way back to God. And so at New Thing, we want to see that happen over and over and over again.
Restore Community Team works in East Aurora through Community 412. We also have Community 412 down in Joliet. And then Friends of Swift is our Restore Community partner in the Edgewater community of Chicago, and they work with Swift Elementary School.
For us at Community, our goal through Global Ministries is to alleviate poverty, one person at a time. And so in looking for a partner, as we were working in Haiti, we wanted to figure out who would give us the best chance of doing that in the country. And a study by Christianity Today came out in which Compassion International was named the best long-term alleviation of poverty strategy.
Philippine Frontline Ministries is a ministry that began 35 years ago. Today we have grown into 4 different areas of competencies, which are child care services, planting churches, economic enterprise development, and education.
I was 10 years old when I ran away from home. I leave my parents because they're always hurting me. So for me, it's like a hell because sometimes you don't eat 3 times a day. You don't have a nice bed to sleep.
New Thing has largely been relegated to North America, and God has done some amazing things. But over the last couple of years, something interesting has happened. Some of our relationships have led to open doors for New Thing to grow globally.
When I was working in Nairobi Chapel, I was challenged to become a leader. I was a very quiet person, very reserved in my ways. And through that, I started learning that I can actually have a voice and I can lead other people and influence them. And that has been an amazing journey.
And my individual purpose statement is to be a catalyst for the global expansion of the kingdom of God. And so in my mind, that was going to be through church planting and through leadership development. So Coey and I, when we got married, we sat down and we said, where is God calling us in this season?
We truly have an opportunity to become a global church planting movement like we never have before. And those are through new opportunities, through relationships that we've had. And we're seeing God do some amazing things in places like Africa, in India, and Europe, and beyond.
When I was 8 years old, my mom signed me up for a reading program at Brady Elementary. We would meet in like a classroom, and it was just, like they would introduce themselves and they would be like, oh, how's your day? So it was always kind of like engaging, and it wasn't just like, oh, this is what we're gonna do. It was like one-on-one conversation.
We truly do not believe that a child's zip code should determine the educational and the extracurricular opportunities that they get. And so we work to break down barriers and overcome obstacles that prevent these kids really from having the opportunities that most of us take for granted.
It was a great opportunity because I was able to like raise my hand instead of being called on in class. So I was like, oh, can I read? I liked reading. I felt like I presented well, and I was able to read out loud without having any problems or help because I knew that I had the help I needed. And then in 6th grade, that's when they started having a thing called Suko. I told my mom about it, like, oh, they're starting this thing up, and can I go? And she's like, yeah, it's fine if you want. I'll drop you off. So every Wednesdays I was here.
For me, I've seen a lot of transformation in Haiti because when you get to go visit the children, you see how their lives are different. We got the chance to meet one compassion child in particular while we were in Haiti, and his name was Abel. He's no longer a child though, he's a 25-year-old man.
Hi, my name is Abel. I was born in a family of 5 kids in a really poor area where a lot of young people got into gangs, into drugs. Our parents didn't have enough money to take care of all of us for food, and sometimes we will spend a whole day hungry. It's only at night that we realized that we didn't eat anything. But one day, God opened the door through compassion. My mom ran early in the morning and said, you know what, guys, they're taking kids for compassion. And then me and one of my brothers, we ran to the project center. And there, we got accepted into the program of compassion. And God started to use compassion to provide for food, for uniform, for school supplies, and for anything we needed so that we can grow and become the people we are today.
We felt like it was church planting, and so we talked to Pastor Oscar and said, hey, we want to plant a church when we get married. You know, we want to be part of a team. So after we got married, we were sent to Liberia to help start a Nairobi Chapel church. And then from there, when we came back to the U.S. as a part of another team that planted in downtown Chicago. And so when New Thing came, I was like, man, this is it. Like, they're going global, they're reproducing, and one of my prayers has always been, allow me to make the greatest impact on the greatest number of people for the greatest length of time. And I see that what New Thing is doing is that exponential type of impact for God's kingdom.
So Jefferson was one of the first in the first batch. It was clear that he was intelligent. He just didn't have opportunity. He was one of our first scholars to go to Frontline Christian Academy.
They also share about Jesus Christ and to understand what life is and what's my purpose on this earth. So if I didn't get off the street, I might be in jail or even dead. So I'm grateful to be part of FTC.
If I would have came into Community 412, I feel like I would not be the person I am today because I feel like I wouldn't be so open as I am now. My mind blossomed, like it just opened up, and having a backbone here, it's like it teaches you about God, it teaches you about hope and faith, because, you know, as you get older, life just gets harder, it doesn't get easier on you.
This Transform series is based on a verse we find in Romans chapter 12, where the Apostle Paul writes, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You see, we will either conform or we will transform. Our lives are on one of two paths, conforming or transforming. And remember, the further we get from God, the more we conform. But the closer we get to God, the more we transform. We believe that when we get close to God, we give more generously. We give our very best, and our lives begin to transform. And this transformation really is about living the good life. but it's not the good life we typically think about. Author James Adams first coined the phrase, the American dream, back in 1931, when he said that the American dream is that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. But you and I both know, the pursuit of the American dream, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I mean, the loss of a job, an unexpected personal crisis, or one financial downturn like we had 7 or 8 years ago, and that dream can come to a grinding halt. Now, there isn't anything inherently evil about, seeking a better life, or richer or fuller life. But when you compare the American dream to God's dream, things get turned on their head. Because according to God's dream, a better life comes when you surrender. A richer life starts when you give. A fuller life is found in generosity. In the beginning, God created the world and said it is good. But then sin entered the world and everything changed. When we look around at our world today, we see so much that isn't good. But you know what? God has never given up on his dream for the world. He continues to draw us closer to himself so that he can do a transforming work in us. And as he transforms us, he then uses us to transform the world. When I look at what God has done through our 4 teams, I see his transforming work in ways I can't fully explain or comprehend. And for those who are here for the very first time, it's your first celebration of generosity. Let me say this. The good life you're searching for, it's not found in the American dream. The best life really is a vision for the world that is so much more than that. It is God's dream for the world. It's his original dream. It's a dream where no child goes hungry, no person goes homeless, and everyone has an opportunity to find their way back to God. And today he's asking us to be a part of that dream.
So all of us need to ask ourselves this question today. Is my life going to be about conforming to the American dream? Or is my life going to be about transforming the world, restore God's dream? I'm telling you, this is the day, community. Celebration Generosity is here. The time is now. People who are doing without will get a hand up, not just a handout. Kids in the street will be offered hope and a future. And people who are headed for a Christless eternity will know Jesus and find their way back to God. We have the chance to be a part of God's dream for transforming the world. And that makes my heart beat fast, and I hope it does yours as well.
Hi community, I've visited you. I'd love you to come and visit us sometime. My name's Anthony Delaney. I lead the Ivy Group of Churches, which is based here out of Manchester, but is now looking across the whole of Europe. As a result of our partnership with New Thing, we've got this vision to establish 250 new reproducing churches across the whole of Europe. And we would never have even begun to look at that vision if it wasn't for people like yourselves partnering with us, praying with us, believing in us. It makes such a great difference. And what you're giving to today is just going to make a difference for many eternities across the whole of Europe. Thanks so much for your generosity. Thanks for partnering with us in helping more and more people across the whole of Europe to find their way back to God.
It started the East Aurora campus, and I was like, we're not just Sugo anymore, but they're going to start a church, so you guys should start coming. And then that year, in January, it started, and my family started coming in March. And then they started coming, they loved it, and I was with Sugo, so they'd come to service and I'd be at Sugo. I'm in Kid City, so having kids, they're just coloring, but they don't know that I'm sharing a piece of God with them. So it's nice having their foundation here at church. I want to pursue early childhood education and follow the career with working with kids, because I like the connection with the kids, but then I would also like having that moment with the parent as well. I'm like a plant because they water me, they put soil in me, and they watch me grow and grow, and they just admire the beauty.
When I hear Elisa's story, I can't even describe how I feel, because to her, Community 412 and the church are one and the same, and that is exactly what we hoped, that if we are truly going to be the church and be an expression of what God wants us to do in low-income communities, then people need to see us as the church. And to Elisa, everything that Community 412 has done has been the church. It's all the same to her, and to me, I feel like we've done exactly what we set out to do.
The things we have found in ministering to these children, and we have found this in our own lives as well, is part of our transformation takes place when we are actually involved in the ministry of others' transformation. So we bring children in, for example, to face the children who have huge amounts of baggage. huge issues that would be very difficult to even talk about. And we actually take these children and involve them in ministry. They serve others. These children that have so much pain of their own and so much history of their own are now part of their transformation is the activity of being involved in others' transformation.
Not only I was a sponsored child, but currently I sponsor 2 kids through Compassion International, one in Haiti and one in Colombia, because I see what God has done in my life through the sponsorship program, and my life has changed, and I said, I need to continue with that. And now it's becoming a legacy from sponsored child to child sponsor, so that this legacy can move on. And who knows, maybe my kids that I sponsor today will be sponsors themselves to more for God's glory.
Just want to say thank you guys for giving to FTC. I've been able to finish my high school and graduated as valedictorian, and I've been able to finish my college degree because of giving.
And he went on to college and he finished his 2-year degree in IT, and now he works for Remote Link. So every Sunday I go to church and I see him up there on the keyboard.
Also, I'm also part of music ministry at Frontline City Church. I never tried to play any instrument when I was on the street, but when I got in FTC Frontline, I saw the piano in the church, so I tried to play on it. Then that's I feel like, oh, I wanna learn this to play piano. So I started to study.
New Thing looks at the world in 9 different regions now. And so if you imagine my role here has been North American Regional Director, well, we want to reproduce that 9 times. And so Matt and his wife Coey are doing a residency right here at Community with me. And the plan is that we will launch them to become the African Regional Directors in 2016.
So it's going to happen organically, and it already is. We've got people in the UK, we've got people in the Philippines, we've got people in Asia, in Kenya. And so this next year, I want to really be a part of how do we structure this so that it helps to support this massive growth that we see.
So for the past 3 years, we've been really focusing on the country of Haiti. And we've partnered every community Christian campus with the church in Haiti. And so that will continue, and those relationships will go on for the entirety of our partnership. But I think also they see the potential of a church like Community Christian, not only for us as a church body, but in the ability to influence other churches. So we do have a special opportunity kind of on the ground floor here to really begin this church planning initiative and start something brand new through Compassion. Instead of focusing on just a particular country like Haiti, we decided to start in a particular section of the world, Central and South America, where we'll go to the poorest of the poor areas, places where churches were not even in existence up to this point. Plant a Compassion program there and a church as well. And so 200 children from the area will still come and be a part of that church, but it'll be an area that never would have even had a church before. And then our hope is that we start in Central and South America, but then work with other churches to conquer not only that area, but the world as well.
In this next year, Community 412 in East Aurora is going to reach double the number of kids that we've done in the past. We have new tutoring and mentoring programs, chess clubs, dominoes clubs. We're starting a whole lot of programs and even bringing some new schools into what we're doing. So we're going to continue to work on that elementary impact in education, while we also look towards the future of what it would look like to really even move beyond and help kids prepare for college.
Your generosity and your giving has helped us in so many ways to change the lives of so many other people here in the Philippines. The property that I'm sitting on, the buildings that you might see in the background here, these are facilities that are capable of handling as many as 80 children. We hope in the future that you'll see 2 or 3 more of these buildings on this property. We've been able to push forward in planting more churches. We're doing more feeding programs. Churches are developing where those feeding programs are taking place. And your partnership here in the Philippines has made huge, huge inroads into transforming San Pablo City, the lives of many, many people. And you can rest assured that your giving is making a big difference.
You're helping people who have been there, far from God, and have found their way back to God through a local church. And so now this is going to be a global thing. Whether you're in Kenya, like my wife, whether you're in the Philippines, whether you're in Russia, you're going to be a part of helping people find their way back to God all over the world.
It's important to keep planting churches. It's important to keep multiplying, because we don't want to hold on to the light and keep it to ourselves. We want to spread it out. And when it does that, the light just goes and people's lives are changed and transformed, and a whole society is affected just because we decided to plant a church somewhere.